Hello, Podmates! I'm Howie Severino and welcome to our new podcast series. Mga kwento ng kasaysayan na may koneksyon pa rin sa kasalukuyan. Enjoy listening!
Ang masasabing pinakaunang halalan sa kasaysayan ng bansa ay may layuning magbuklod sa nagkawatak-watak na katipunan. Ngunit lalo pa ito nagresulta sa alitan dahil sa pang-iinsulto at isyu ng pandaraya. At noon pa man, meron na raw pagkalat ng fake news, ayon kay Professor Xiao Chua. Welcome to part 2 of our episode on the Tejeros Convention, ang pinakaunang halalan sa kasaysayan ng bansa.
Balikan ko lang yung botohan, no? I'm just curious about this and maybe others might be interested. Kasi sinabi mo nga na ang karamihan ng mga nandoon ay kasama sa magdiwang faction na
Right.
Up to that time ay kaalyado ni Bonifacio.
Supposedly.
Right? Oh, supposedly. Kaya may confidence si Bonifacio na magtawag ng eleksyon dahil nga in fact he got a commitment from everyone na igalang yung resulta, di ba? So, I'm sure nagulat siya na pati yung mga supposed na kaalyado niya ay hindi siya binoto, no?
Right.
So, I'm wondering ano ba yung explanation diyan? Was there a loss of confidence? Kasi after all, 'di ba, siya yung supremo, 'di ba? Hinahangaan siya ng marami. He was considered the founding father of the Katipunan and all of a sudden hindi siya binoto.
Ito yung nangyari. Ako napaisip ako kasi the story, the narratives are in my mind, no? So parang ngayon nagkakaroon ako ng instant reckoning about their questions, very good questions. No, bakit nawalan ng tiwala yung maraming mga leader sa Cavite kay Bonifacio? Ako, confluence of two things. Number one, I would like to, because we have a documentation, I would like to believe na yung sinasabi ni Telesforo Canseco na Caviteño, no, sa kanyang diary, na pagpatay ni Bonifacio sa mga praile really irked a lot of them. Kasi these are, even if they were Spaniards, they were still men of God, no? Now, the other thing is fake news. Okay? So noon pa man, actually, di ba, ang election, fake news. Noon pa man, may fake news lang. So ano yung fake news? Number one, that Bonifacio, the meaning of haring bayan is not hari ang bayan, but siya yung hari. So, basically, ang nangyari kasi dyan, nagkaroon ng sigawan nung dumating siya eh. Actually, nakakatawa yan kasi yung Daniel Tirona, yun ang sigaw ng sigaw nung una. Sabi niya, mabuhay ang hari ng bayan! Mabuhay ang hari ng bayan! And then Bonifacio shouted, mabuhay ang haring bayan. Nobody understood. So, ano yung sinasabi ni Bonifacio? Kino-correct niya si Daniel Tirona sa pagsasabi, mabuhay ang haring bayan. Yung bayan ang hari. Pero nobody understood that. Ang feeling ko lang ito ako, again, I am speculating as a historian. Nag-i-implant na si Daniel Tirona ng false interpretation na kung ano ang haring bayan by saying that is Bonifacio. And even Aguinaldo, up to his old days, insists that haring bayan was Bonifacio was king, which is ridiculous. Okay, ridiculous because Bonifacio, the mere reason why Bonifacio was dead was because he believed in democracy. He was a totalitarian. He would have insisted, we will not have an election today, mga loko kayo. But he did not. I think yun nga yung ano ko he was always believing that there should be a consensus. Yun yung fault niya at to a fault, shall we say, that we wanted consensus. So, ano pa yung fake news? The other fake news was nung nasa Naik siya, ito later na yata to after the Tejeros Convention, nung nasa Naik siya, dinala daw siya, binuhat daw, may kwento na binuhat daw siya ng mga tao sa isang tono na kahoy, dalhin sa simbahan hanggang doon sa eskwelahan, which is a short distance by the way. Pero parang ang implication ay para siyang hari. Now, lumabas siyang kwentong yan pero I really doubt if that was Bonifacio. Narinig ko lang to na naglagay sila ng ibang tao tapos tinawag nilang Bonifacio. And who would have known? They just called him that, ano? So may mga ganon na fake news at yung pang isang fake news ay lahat ng labanan niya ay natalo. Now again, I will say that he had difficulty with the Spanish forces in Manila and Rizal, but definitely may mga pinanalo naman siyang laban. And as the strategist of the revolution, all the other victories of his commanders in other areas should be attributed to him, like the victory in Antipolo. Eventually, there was a battle there. Yun yung mga angas-angasan na walang pinag-aralan yan. Yan, yung mga tao na katulad ni Daniel Teron, na yan ang kanilang narrative na bobo siya, na wala siyang pinag-aralan. Yan, and the other fake news is this, na yung kapatid niya ay kalaguyo ng Paile. At ang balak
kapatid ni Bonifacio.
Yes.
Si Procopio.
Pwede. Yung mga babae. Mga babae. So, ang mangyayari doon, kinoconnect na dahil kalaguyo ng Paile, yung kapatid ni Bonifacio, ang fake news ay isusuko ni Andres Bonifacio ang revolusyon sa mga Kastila. Ibig sabihin, Bonifacio will negotiate to the Spaniards. At which, of course, Bonifacio or Aguinaldo will also do in Biak na Bato eventually. Pero yun yung unang fake news. The other fake news is this. Tapos na yung Teros Convention, Bonifacio went to Indang, and yung balita doon ay susunugin niya yung bayan dahil ayaw nilang magbigay ng pagkain. Actually, that is the final straw that made Aguinaldo arrest Bonifacio. Na parang susunugin pala niya yung Indang. There was a report like that na ako, when I was looking at the letters of Andres Bonifacio to Emilio Jacinto, parang feeling ko lang, I am speculating as a historian, was fake news.
That's actually an extenuating circumstance that favors Aguinaldo kasi nga, kumbaga, ang sinasabi mo, not only did Bonifacio reject the leadership of Aguinaldo, parang nanggugulo pa siya. In the sense na... I mean, kung if you're threatening to burn down a community that does not give you food, at nasa Cavite pa yung community, kumbaga bailiwick ni Aguinaldo yan no? Parang that's a major that's a hostile action, no?
Yeah.
That's not helping the revolution.
Exactly. If it was true,
Ayon naman kay history professor Vic Torres, isa pa sa ugat ng alitan ng Supremo at ni Aguinaldo ay ang pagkamatay ng kapatid ni Aguinaldo na si Crispolo. Hinarang daw ng mga kaalyado ni Bonifacio ang mga tauhang tutulong sana sa labanan.
Why did he block the reinforcements for Aguinaldo's brother at that crucial battle?
It's hard to tell, no? But I think Bonifacio still wanted to consolidate whatever power that he had. Obviously, talo na siya the Caviteños already.
Yeah, but that would have led to the defeat of the force that he wanted to unite with him.
I think he didn't know that at first. But that is just a presumption, no? He didn't know that.
Kasi this force that was going to Pasong Santol was not directly under him.
Yeah.
So baka maybe it was an assertion of authority.
Yeah, it's just speculation, no? But
How do we know this, that he blocked the reinforcement?
I saw it in one of the accounts of at that time that he blocked the reinforcements. How good would that reinforcement would be? It's hard to tell because almost at that same hour that he was blocking it, accordingly, the Spaniards already attacked.
So it might not have made any difference.
Yeah. But then again, kapatid niya namatay.
Yeah, exactly. So in other words, itong ugat ng alitan nila Aguinaldo at Bonifacio, may talagang personal na angulo.
At first, yeah.
And then, what happened? So, gusto niyang umuwi ng Manila, where supposedly he's going to reorganize, reconstitute the Katipunan Army.
But Aguinaldo already issued the order to arrest.
So, where was he arrested?
In Limbon, Barangay Limbon.
Cavite pa rin to?
Cavite pa rin.
1897, ang dating Supremo pinaaresto ni Aguinaldo. Dito na nagsimula ang pagwawakas ng Katipunan.
Can we say that the Katipunan ended in Tejeros?
In Tejeros, yes.
Because they decided, okay, wala nang Katipunan, we just have... Kasi the Katipunan was divided.
Yeah.
So let's unify it under this new concept
Well,
of a revolutionary government.
The Katipunan was in Cavite, was divided, but the agreement with the Supremo that if a government is going to be put up, the Katipunan will be dissolved. Which happened. To the understanding of the people of Cavite and of course the delegates from Batangas,
Okay.
tapos na ang Katipunan.
Okay, so he was arrested in Barangay Limbon, and then what was the timetable after that until his execution or killing?
The problem that they had with the trial of Bonifacio was that he was transferred from town to town because imagine having a trial in the middle of the Spanish onslaught. No? Until finally, based on the records, the last actions of the trial happened in Maragondon. The trial house is still there. No?
Ang nasa tabi ni Bonifacio sa kanyang paglilitis ay ang kanyang kapatid na si Procopio at ang kanyang asawa na si Gregoria de Jesus.
She was just a companion.
She was accompanying them. Bonifacio was seriously wounded, of course. He was shot in the shoulder and he had a stab wound in the neck. Okay.
Because when he was being arrested, lumaban siya.
Daw. But according to the accounts of hindi daw. He was shot and was hit. But when he fell down to the ground, according to many of the accounts, the second incident, that happened was Ignacio Paua, General Paua, got his dagger, then stabbed Bonifacio in the neck while he was lying down on the ground.
Intending to kill him.
The description pa nga daw was, pumasok daw yung balaraw dito sa gilid, lumabas daw sa likod.
Wow.
No,
That would have killed him.
Yeah, nakahiga sa so tumusok pa yung dagger talaga sa lupa.
Oh my.
No? Talagang may galit. No, I don't know to what. There was an attempt daw to rape.
I wanted to ask you about that. So, kasama si Gregorio de Jesus, Bonifacio's wife, and witnessed a lot of this.
Yeah.
And was she raped?
Si Gregoria de Jesus, na mas kilala rin sa palayaw na Oria, ay 18 taong gulang na makilala ang 29 na taong gulang na si Bonifacio. Ang kanilang pagmamahala, saksi sa mahalagang yugto ng revolusyon mula sa pagkatatag ng La Liga Filipina at pagbuo ng Katipunan hanggang sa trahedyang tumapo sa buhay ng Supremo. Maging si Oriang, hindi raw nakaligtas sa kalupitan.
That is a big question always that happened. There were many assumptions that she was raped. Pero inawat daw si...
May witness ba? May account?
Yeah, inawat si Agapito Bonsol, who attempted to rape her. But Bonifacio daw asked, requested some of the soldiers, wag daw anuhin, everything. He was pleading with them. So hindi daw ni-rape. But throughout her entire life, she never mentioned it.
So where did that rumor come from?
Assumptions.
Assumption lang.
Yeah, kasi talaga ba ang pinigil si Bonsol? Did he continue with it? Kasi he attempted it twice.
How do we know that he attempted it?
There was
Witness.
There was first time he attempted to rape her, pinigil siya, tapos there was a second time pa daw. Yeah, they attempted to rape her. So the assumption was, baka the second time or the first time he succeeded na. But throughout her entire life, she never talked about it. In fact, Gregoria de Jesus, when she married again, she married Julio Nakpil. No? Never talked about Bonifacio again. Throughout her entire life.
Sa Dulang Lakambini na isinulat ni Alan Palilio, tinalakay ang konsepto ng what if. What if nagkaroon ng komprontasyon si Oriang at si Aguinaldo? Ano kaya ang sasabihin nila sa isa't isa? Kasama natin ang profesor ng teatro na si Nick Tiongson para pag-usapan ito.
Kasi maganda yung situation eh. Actually, nagkita talaga sila sa Malolos noong inaugurasyon ng isang monumento doon. Actually, ang inibita ay si Gregorio de Jesus. Pero somehow, Aguinaldo invited himself.
But before you continue, Nick, no, I just want to inform our listeners, this is all imagined, no? This is not,
yes,
it's naganap ito.
It's imagined, pero may actual
Imagined by the
historical occasion yan. Totoong nangyari yung okasyon na yon. Ang inimagine niya, yung confrontation between Gregoria and Aguinaldo, no? So, yun yung ano niya. So, I suppose, ang gusto niyang palabasin is after all these years, kailangan maibuhos ni Gregorio de Jesus yung galit niya kay Aguinaldo sa ginawang pagpatay kay Andres at saka yung dalawang kapatid pa ni Andres, no? na hindi na-resolve dahil as we all know, yung court martial na ginawa, yung court trial nila Bonifacio was really rigged, no? Binayaran nila yung isang witness para sabihin na merong ginagawang mga meeting si Bonifacio para sirain yung bagong gobyerno ni Aguinaldo. After that, pinatay na yung magkapatid at saka hindi na nagkita ulit si Bonifacio at saka si Gregorio de Jesus. In fact, sila Gregorio de Jesus, sila Julio Nakpil, si Jacinto, nagtago ng lahat kasi pinahanap sila ni Aguinaldo, supposedly. No? Sabi ni Julio Nakpil, nakausap niya yung tao na pinadala ni Aguinaldo actually para patayin siya. Kasi natatakot si Aguinaldo na baka balikan siya ng mga tauhan ni Bonifacio dahil sa ginawa niyang pagpatay. Pero dun sa confrontation na yon, ang pinapalabas lang yung punto de vista ni Gregorio de Jesus. Actually, ninarrate lahat ni Gregorio de Jesus yun, ano? Yung pag-aresto sa kanila, saksak kay Andres Bonifacio, yung court trial, at saka yung pagkakapatay. Gusto lamang niyang udyukin si Aguinaldo to confess to his sins. Kaya ang ending niyan is pinaluluhod niya para i-admit niya yung kanyang kasalanan. At ni-reveal niya na yung sinasabi niya na si Agapito Bonson, yung pinadala ni Aguinaldo para hulihin si Bonifacio, ay sinamantala siya, no? Parang nagkaroon ng rape. Although hindi malinaw talaga yon sa mga kasaysayan kung talagang nangyari yung rape na yon. Kasi dun sa isang account, twice na nag-attempt si Bonson pero parang na-foil naman siya. Una nung kanyang mga tauhan at yung pangalawa si Tomas Mascardo. But anyway, I suppose for purposes of the drama, the author took this side na nangyari yung rape. Anyway, so yun, the play is just that he wants to imagine the confrontation between Gregorio de Jesus and Aguinaldo na gustong ipamuka ni Gregoria yung ginawa ni Aguinaldo sa kanilang mag-asawa. Pero syempre, magandang ending kasi nandun yung kneeler, di ba? So, Aguinaldo leans over the kneeler, but you don't know if he kneels or not. Actually, in history, he never knelt.
So, yung tema nga ng accountability, no? Kasi parang sinasabi nyo nga na unresolved yung killing ni Andres Bonifacio and yung kapatid niya, no? At dalawa silang in-execute, may nagsasabi nga it was an assassination, etc., no? So, yung theme na yon na yung accountability for an unresolved political killing, of course that resonates to modern audiences, no, without having to mention any more recent incidents, no. Maaring isang pangarap or even pantasya yon, no, na magkaroon ng ganong confrontation na may aamin or may hihingi ng tawad or magkaroon ng pagkakataon yung biktima o yung survivors ng mga pinatay na i-confront, kaya tinawag na konfrontasyon itong series of plays na napanood natin sa PETA, no. So I guess yun ang ano yung dating sa maraming nasa audience, no, itong theme of accountability, and in a way dahil nga naganap nga sa stage yung ganong confrontation. There was a cathartic effect, no, even if no matter how you felt about Aguinaldo and Bonifacio, if you just think about recent events in the Philippines, parang, di ba? Parang pangarap ng maraming Pilipino no? Na magkaroon ng accountability.
Well, that's been a major problem of ours, ano, from the very start. Pero ang isang gusto ko banggitin, actually, if you're looking for parallels, maganda yung Tejeros Convention at saka yung nangyari sa Tejeros Convention kasi para talagang election today.
Ang Tejeros Convention na masasabing pinakaunang halalan sa kasaysayan ng bansa, tila hindi naging magandang simula at halimbawa, ayon kay Professor Tiongson.
This first election marred by fraud, sabi nyo nga, there's various sources that point to fraud, no? Did it create this wrong template for our elections, and how do we change that template?
Oo. Siguro ang problema kasi doon is mas malalim kaysa doon eh. Parang kwan lang siya eh. Parang symptom lang yan of a larger problem or a bigger problem, no? Which is actually that unang-una ang electorate mo hindi naman talaga politicized or mature, ano? And why is that? Because for centuries, talagang the masses have been left uneducated, ignorant in many ways, and that has worked to the benefit of the people in power kasi sila lang yung may edukasyon at dahil may edukasyon sila, may advantage na kagad sila sa karaniwang taong bayan with regards to the law, with regards to acquisition of property, di ba? And of course, acquisition of power kasi magkakasama yun eh. Yung mga head natin, yun din yung mayayaman at sino yung mga nasa ilalim, di yung mga tao nila na sunod-sunuran lang. So, yung edukasyon kasi napaka-central sa isang democracy. From the very start, nag-eleksyon tayo, panahon ng Kastila, sino ang nai-elect? Lahat mayayaman. Kasi ang mayayaman lamang ang pwedeng tumakbo bilang kapitan o gobernadorsilyo kasi sila yung may pera para magbayad ng mga kulang sa taxes na gusto ng praile, right? So, in other words, you needed to be rich to run, right? At saka hindi lang yon, you have to be near the powers that be. So, kung hindi ka gusto ng praile, kahit mayaman ka, hindi ka mapipili. Kaya ang daming gulo noon sa panahon ng reforma because of that, no? Nung dumating ang mga Amerikano, nagkaroon ng token na elections, okay? Sino nakaboto? May requirement. Only people who are propertied. Only people who have so many who own property, lands, and so on can vote. So, again, disenfranchises naman yung karaniwang tao. Yung karaniwang tao ang ayaw sa Amerikano eh. Kaya nila din, kaya ganun yung structure. Kasi alam nila, yung mga mayayaman madaling makuha. Mag-promise ka lang ng position dyan, bigyan mo ng friar lands, nasa iyo na yan eh. Sa bulsa mo na yan eh. Pero yung karaniwang tao, yun ang mga tapat sa revolusyon. So alam nila na malakas pa yung feeling na yon ng nationalism. So the first elections, kunyari elections, ano? Kasi siyempre, Amerika sila. Dapat constitutional, democratic, ganon. So tumawag na election, pero ang pwedeng bumoto lamang ay yung mga may property. Siyempre, sino maboboto? Di sila rin. Di ba? So, itong whole rule of the elite na ito, political and economic, was perfected under our own leaders. Quezon among them. Quezon was really very, very astute politically. At dyan na nagsimula lahat nitong, di ba? All the trading between politicians, di ba? Ang daming yung mga tumatakbo, alam mo na may mga ibang dahilan sila para tumakbo. In general, the people who were elected to the National Assembly were property owners because they were the ones who could afford to go to school. Tingnan mo ang kung saan nag-work more or less yung democratic process sa mga countries na malakas ang middle classes. Kasi yung middle classes are educated, right? So, kahit na meron kang elite, kung majority ang middle classes, mas may hope ang democracy na mag-survive, ano? So ang nakita natin sa Tejeros election is I think precisely that. I think very significant yung detail na hakot eh. Siyempre itong mga leaders ng magdiwang, alam naman natin yun, ang leaders ng mga general noon, mga ano din yan, karamihan dyan ay mga gobernadorsilyo, mga mayayaman din. So may mga lupa sila at may mga tenants sila. So hinakot ang mga tenants para bumoto para sa kanya. So in other words, yung nangyayari sa atin na forever na lang na dayaan, bayaran, etc. is rooted in that whole equal structure in our society where the rich talaga have lorded it over everybody else with their money, and then with their money they get education. Therefore, they become the elite and they are elected to positions. And while they're in position, they make sure that their economic interests are protected, so they become even richer. Mapansin natin, alam mo, edukasyon, hindi naman binigyan talaga ng importansya yan eh. Ang laki ng budget ng education, pero walang tunay na education. Kasi alam ng elite na real education, which makes people critical, is a threat to them.
Mahigit isang siglo na ang lumipas. Hanggang ngayon, hati pa rin ang opinyon tungkol kina Aguinaldo at Bonifacio. Posible kayang naging mas matugumpay ang katipunan kung naresolba ang hidwaan sa pagitan ng dalawang paksyon nito. Sa pananaw ni Xiao Chua,
if the forces of Aguinaldo and Bonifacio were able to, sort their differences to have one unified katipunan in Cavite, they could have resisted for quite some time until, of course, they were able to negotiate with another power, which is the Americans. I do not know. But there could have been yung victory sana natin as a revolution, yung nangyari nung independence nung 1898, would have been more poignant in the sense that the forces actually were able to sort their differences out. But of course, as many elections happened, unity, di ba? Nung una, Bonifacio, Aguinaldo, you are together, di ba? You fought the revolution together, and then of course, eventually, mag-aaway din kayo. Which is what happened in our Tejeros Convention. It happened among the guerrillas during the war. You know this very well. They were fighting with each other. After battling together, you fight with each other. This also happened during the People Power Revolution. Diba? Forces went together, the left and the right. They disintegrated. And same with what happened with Bongbong Marcos and Sara Duterte. So it's a repeating pattern, which I think we have to escape if we're going to learn from history.
para naman kay Dr. Nick Tiongson, malalim ang problema natin sa kakulangan ng edukasyon pagdating sa eleksyon.
Hindi na tinatanong kung ano ba yung tama at mali. Ang tinatanong na lang sino ba yung mas malakas, di ba? So doon ka na lang kumapit. Makikita mo na siguro talagang ang edukasyon natin talaga has not improved at all kasi sa dami ng mga nagsusupport pa rin doon sa mga tao na ganon, di ba? Ano yun edukasyon talaga yun Hindi sila marunong mag-isip ng critical. So hindi principles yung mga middle class yung ganun yung mga nag-aral. Pero yung karaniwang tao hindi ganun mag-isip unfortunately,
More than a century later, I mean, nagkaroon na tayo ng public school system. Ang dami naman edukadong Pilipino, di ba? I mean, dami ng Pilipino nakapag-aral. Pero I guess the question is how long can we wait? Kailangan ba 100% mataas ang pinag-aralan ng Pilipino? Ang dami na natin ang dami na sa atin ang nakapag-aral na, di ba? It's not just people like you na may PhD. I mean, ang dami-dami nating universities and colleges, no? It's not as if na neglect talaga yung edukasyon, ano? So
siguro yan, that's a very good question, di ba? Sa dami na nag-aral, ba't ganyan pa rin? Kasi yung ding system ng education natin is rote. It's not meant to make you think, di ba? It cramps you with data, gives you skills, but dissuades your mind from thinking independently. Ano tayo parang vocational yung mga schools natin. Hindi tayo tinuturuan na mag-isip. I guess yun ang isang problema kahit na magkaroon ka ng edukasyon, siguro this applies to America also, di ba? Nangyayari sa Amerika ngayon, di ba?
Yeah, Doc, I just want to end by going back to the play, no? Kasi it was about accountability, no? Sabi niyo nga na nagtapos yung play, yung Lakambini, na hindi mo alam kung luluhod o hindi si Aguinaldo, no? Pero you could easily interpret that as luluhod siya, no? And ask for forgiveness, and in a way there would be some kind of closure on the part of Gregoria de Jesus for everything that, I mean, what else could she ask for, di ba? I mean,
No. I don't think Gregorio de Jesus would have expected closure from Aguinaldo. Kasi right after yung nangyari ng lahat yan, right, si Aguinaldo sumuko, di ba? Tapos naging maka-Amerikano siya. And then he spent the rest of his life trying to recover his name. Nung panahon ng Hapon, nakapag-collaborate siya sa Hapon, sinuka din siya ng taong bayan. So in other words, maring hindi namatay siya noong panahon na yun, pero ilang kamatayan yung kanyang nadanas dahil sa kawalan niya ng paninindigan sa tama at sa totoo.
may mga nagsasabi nga na he lived too long.
Oo.
He lived too long.
Oo.
Maraming salamat and thank you for sharing the depth of your knowledge of history and culture. Sana bumuti yung ating kalagayan dito sa ating bansa ngayon. Learning from all of this.
Maraming salamat din.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Thank you.
This episode was produced by the team of Yu Marianga and Aubrey de los Reyes, supervised by Criselda Caringal, Arla Fabella, and Bernice Bukaw. Our camera crews are from the teams of JZ Teofisto and JB Del Rosario. This was edited by JR Magtoto and hosted by me, Howie Severino.
Thank you, Podmates, for listening and watching until the very end of this podcast. Alam nyo na, nakakatalino ang mahabang attention span. Don't forget to like and subscribe and binge watch our past episodes too. Until the next pod, mabuhay kayo at ingat lagi.